The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi 60 from Sri Lanka Insurance. Call 0112 357 357.
In a few moments, the news.
Sri Lanka Insurance, like a father, like a mother.
This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
.45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Sound Thavam. Sri Lanka under state of emergency. The Prime Minister says this is not a time to do politics. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga says that although the people have the right to conduct peaceful protests, they do not have the right to create anarchy in the country. 3 special teams to investigate the Mirihana incidents. The Paka duration reduced, and Russia praises India for not judging war in a one-sided way. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has issued an extraordinary gazette notification declaring a public emergency in Sri Lanka with effect from yesterday. The President, by virtue of powers vested in him by Section 2 of the Public Security Ordinance, as amended by Act No. 8 of 1959, Law No. 6 of 1978 and Act No. 28 of 1988, has issued the Gazette declaring public emergency in Sri Lanka in the interests of public security, the protection of public order and the maintenance of essential supplies and services. Meanwhile, earlier it was announced that a police curfew will be imposed in the Western Province from midnight last night till 6 a.m. this morning. Senior police spokesperson, Senior DIG Ajit Rohan has said a decision has been taken to impose the curfew in the Western Province, considering the prevailing volatile situation. He requested the general public to adhere to the curfew regulations. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that this is not a time to do politics. All should work together to develop the nation. The Premier invites all parties who did not attend the all-party conference to join next time. Some parties are making false statements saying that there will be a shortage of essential goods in the New Year's season. He said that he accepts the fact that there is a crisis in the country. He added that the government are working tirelessly to overcome this issue. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga says that although people have the right to conduct peaceful protests, they do not have the right to create anarchy in the country. Taking part in a media briefing yesterday at the President's Media Centre, he said such activities will take the country back into a dark era such as 83, 88 and 89. He said that although people are facing difficulties at present, such activities will create anarchy in the country. The tourism industry, which collapsed due to COVID, is returning to normalcy. Nearly 280,000 tourists have arrived in the country. The minister said $500 million has been earned through tourism. He pointed out that the tourism industry can be affected by such conflicts. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi 60 from Sri Lanka Insurance.
Senior police spokesman, Senior DIG Ajit Rohan says that investigations into the riots in Mirihana on Thursday night have been handed over to 3 special teams. Speaking at a media briefing held at the Government Information Department yesterday, SDIG Ajit Rohan said 4.5 hours after the protests began, the Sri Lanka police acted in accordance with the country's constitution to protect the rights of the people. He said that 3 police buses were damaged in the incident and an army bus, a 3-wheeler, 2 motorcycles and a police jeep were also damaged in the incident. According to calculations made so far, the value of the damage caused by the protest is more than 39 million rupees. The senior police spokesman said 24 police officers, including an assistant superintendent of police, were also injured in the incident. It has been reported that several journalists from multiple news agencies covering the incident were assaulted by the security forces, especially by the Special Task Force deployed to control the protest. The Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka has approved power cuts of 8 hours and 30 minutes for today, as requested by the Ceylon Electricity Board. The CEB had requested interruptions to the power supply due to the limited supply of fuel for thermal power plants, the PUCSL said. Meanwhile, the over 5-hour power cuts have been for tomorrow. And that concludes local news.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi60 from Sri Lanka Insurance. A health insurance plan to honor our most valued elders by the protectors of the nation. We now give our treasured senior citizens access to the very best medical insurance, specially tailored for anyone over 60. What's more, you don't need medical screening to access this policy. And Medi60 covers a wide range of illnesses. Only from Sri Lanka Insurance. Call 0112 357 357.
Moving on to the main news story, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has handed over a stock of essential medical equipment donated by several countries to face the COVID-19 situation to the Ministry of Health. Admiral Jayanath Columbagis, Secretary to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has handed over to State Minister of Production, Supply and Regulations of Pharmaceuticals, Professor Channa Jayasumana, the essential medical equipment and surgical instruments required to combat the COVID-19 epidemic in the country. The medical equipment has been donated by friendly countries, China, Germany, Israel, Jordan and Norway. And the Ministry of Production, Supply and Regulations of Pharmaceuticals will be responsible for the distribution of the equipment amongst hospitals. That came to you in the main news story.
Watch Life is brought to you by
More prizes, more gains with CIB New Year offers. Valuable gifts for every bill. 20% discount for bank cards until 10th of April. Visit CIB today.
The chairman of the Vocational Training Authority, Eranga Basnaika, says programs will commence in May only for students who sat for the GCE O-level examination. He said those programs can be followed at 215 institutions under the authority island-wide. He added that 14,000 students will be enrolled for the courses and came to you in Watchlight.
More prizes, more gains with CIB New Year offers. Valuable gifts for every bill. 20% discount for bank cards until 10th of April. Visit CIB today.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of
No matter what anyone says, for your lease, visit the Leasing Mahagedara. People's Leasing, Friendly Leasing Mahagedara. More information from the nearest People's Leasing branch.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Moving on to world news and in the headlines, Russia praises India for not judging the war in a one-sided way. The US to end policy expelling migrants over COVID. And Will Smith resigns from Oscars Academy over slap. The US will halt a pandemic policy that allowed migrants to be swiftly expelled over concerns about spreading of COVID-19. The policy, known as Title 42, will end on the 23rd of May after more than 2 years, the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention said on Friday. Aimed at stopping virus spread in migrant holding facilities, the Trump policy was twice extended by President Joe Biden. Over 1.7 million people have been expelled under the policy. Mr. Biden had been under pressure from his party to end the controversial order, with critics arguing that its public health benefits fail to outweigh harm to the rights of migrants. Russia has praised India for not judging the conflict in Ukraine in a one-sided way, as foreign ministers from both countries met in Delhi. India has not joined the widespread condemnation of Russia's invasion and is a major buyer of Russian arms. But it faces a diplomatic balancing act and is under pressure from Western countries to help rein in Russia. Following the talks, India said it favoured peaceful resolutions of conflicts but did not criticise Russia. India, which is a nuclear power, has a long history of pursuing a non-aligned strategy in international politics, not trying itself to the interests of other superpowers or political blocs. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who also met India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, spoke of the friendship between the two nations in his statement. US actor Will Smith has resigned from the Oscars Academy after slapping comedian Chris Rock on stage during last Sunday's ceremony. Quote, "I am resigning from membership in the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences," unquote, he said in a statement. Smith said he was heartbroken and would accept any further consequences the board deems appropriate. He said his actions at the 94th Academy Awards presentation were shocking, painful and inexcusable. Smith slapped the comedian after he made a joke about his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head, a result of the hair loss condition alopecia. The actor said he wanted to put a focus back on those who deserve attention for their achievements. Back to the headlines of the world news. Russia praises India for not judging war in a one-sided way. The US to end policy expelling migrants over COVID. And Will Smith resigns from Oscars Academy over slap. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
For your wheel lease, visit the Leasing Mahagedara. People's Leasing, friendly leasing Mahagedara. More information from the nearest People's Leasing branch.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Development News is brought to you by... Let's take coal out of the coconut tree and make the island thriving and prosperous. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070-400-1928.
The Foreign Minister of Nepal, Dr. Narayan Kadaka, paid a courtesy call on Professor G.L. Piris, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Sri Lanka, on 30th March 2022 on the sidelines of the BIMSTEC summit in Colombo. During the discussion, the foreign ministers of the two countries expressed satisfaction over the ever-growing two-way bond and discussed avenues to further strengthen political, economic and cultural relations. Foreign Minister Professor Piris acknowledged with appreciation the principled position maintained by Nepal in respect of Sri Lanka in the United Nations Human Rights Council and the solidarity demonstrated towards Sri Lanka at the 49th session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva held in March 2022. That came to you in Development News.
Development News was brought to you by... The coconut tree is well grown in almost all the parts of the island. It is an exceptional source of extra income. The shell, the husk and almost all the parts of the coconut tree makes you money, providing you with an excellent extra source of income. It will also help to nourish the economy of the country. You will be guided with all necessary informations regarding the coconut cultivation, with the novel cultivation techniques and all other related and upgraded informations by the Coconut Research Institute, Lunavilla. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070-400-1928.
Sports News is brought to you by...
Sampath Bank, we present your future.
And in football news, England could face Scotland or Wales at the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 after the draw for the tournament's finals were made on Friday. One of Wales, Scotland or Ukraine will go into Group B after the remaining European playoff path is completed. Iran and the USA have also been drawn in England's group. That's sports news. We look at business news next.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Ukraine war has led the World Trade Organization to cut its global trade growth forecast for this year. The WTO boss, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, says the previous 4.7% growth forecast has been cut to 2.5% due to the impact of the war and related policies. The cut is also linked to continuing global supply chain problems that started as a result of the pandemic. She also said disruptions would make food more costly, saying, quote, "My worry is that we have to face a food crisis that is brewing," unquote. That's business news. Economic news up next.
Business News, sponsored by...
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Moving on to economic news, the first stock of rice imported under the Indian credit line is scheduled to arrive in the country next week. 40,000 metric tons of Nadu, Samba and Kakulu rice varieties are scheduled to be received under the credit line. The Ministry of Trade made arrangements to make those available soon to the people with the aim of providing relief to consumers during the Sinhala and Tamil festive season. The State Trading Corporation has taken steps to import the stock of rice. And on to the weather report to conclude. Showers or thundershowers will occur over most parts of the island during the evening or night. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in the central, Sabragama, Uva and north central provinces and in the Trincomalee, Vavuniya and Mullaitivu districts. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. Sri Lanka under a state of emergency. The Prime Minister says this is not a time to do politics. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga says that although the people have the right to conduct peaceful protests, they do not have the right to create anarchy in the country. 3 special teams to investigate the Mirihana incidents. The Paka duration reduced. And Russia praises India for not judging war in a one-sided way. That concludes this morning's news broadcast, and now it's back to your host, Sonal, across the glass pane.